More pictures of more death in the Mediterranean. These are the bodies of some of the 700 migrants feared dead after their vessel capsized off the Libyan coast. Meanwhile, close to the Greek island of Rhodes, this was the scene as 100 migrants were rescued and 3 perished. The numbers of those dying has sharply increased this year compared to the last, after an EU search and rescue operation was replaced by a far smaller and cheaper alternative. The small Italian island of Lampedusa, closer to Africa than Europe, has become one of the front lines of illegal migration. Hidden in the corner of the local cemetery are the graves of dozens of migrants who died from carbon monoxide poisoning, trapped in the hull of their boats while trying to cross the Mediterranean to Lampedusa. No one knows their names, so the graves are just marked by dates and by numbers. But the bodies of thousands of other migrants who never made it across the Mediterranean will never even be recovered. Local fishermen know every morning they set out they could encounter another tragedy. They say their work is becoming increasingly difficult.
Morti? Sì. Purtroppo sì.
We often come across corpses in the sea and then we have to call the authorities. Sometimes we pick them up in our nets. When we pick them up in our nets, they're usually already decomposed. We often also pick up a lot of bones and skulls from our fishing grounds.
This man tells me how he was on one of the first boats on the scene at one of the largest disasters when 300 died 2 years ago. Some of those who saw the aftermath never returned to work at sea. Today, EU foreign ministers met to discuss the problem. A special European Council meeting has been scheduled for later in the week.
In the next few hours, we must ensure that the discussions in the European Council prove that this is not a problem only for Malta, this is not a problem only for Italy, but if a country, a continent, has any inkling of the dignity of humans, it cannot accept that its brothers and sisters are locked up on a boat, sold to human traffickers and forced into an horrific death, locked up under deck and forced to drown in the most awful way.
A Syrian soldier defecting from the Assad regime handed us this video of the journey he and 320 others made from Libya to Lampedusa after paying smugglers $1,000. They seem in high spirits here, but later spent hours stranded waiting to be rescued, convinced they were going to drown. Another Syrian on board didn't want to reveal his identity, but told me he was robbed while spending months in Libya waiting to travel.
Many men in Libya stopped car, me and my friend, and have a gun and knife, tell me, take me your money and your phone and everything I have, take it me.
He and other migrants who do make it to Lampedusa are amongst the 1,000 or so housed at this reception centre. It's only meant to hold 400. The centre is fenced, but migrants stroll through holes and into town ignored by the guards. They normally move from here to the Italian mainland and then try and travel further north in Europe. Tekla Brown was a nurse in Eritrea who arrived here last week. He had thought his boat, packed with East Africans, was going to sink.
And was crying here. Everybody was afraid. We cannot. Our life was already stopped, but the God was with the Italian guys help us.
Those who work with migrants say we need to radically rethink how we deal with the thousands desperate to get to Europe.
Even with Mare Nostrum, we had thousands of deaths last year. I think the rescue operations are necessary, but the solution is political. Europe and the UN should intervene and create a humanitarian corridor, because we find ourselves at the beginning of a kind of Third World War.
Boats from North Africa, filled with migrants searching for a new life, have been arriving in Lampedusa for over a decade. These are some of those recovered by authorities, now rotting by the beach. Many people on Lampedusa feel it's their duty to help those migrants they can. But at the moment, many feel Europe is letting them and some of the world's most vulnerable people down.